So did Neale Donald Walsch really have a conversation with God? You know, I've had the privilege, and I say that specifically, I've had the privilege of interviewing Neale Donald Walsch twice. There's a couple things about Neale Donald Walsch that I want to talk about here. First of all, do I believe he had a conversation with God? I do. I absolutely believe that he had a conversation with God. In meeting Neale, I found Neale to be very genuine. I found Neale to have a very fun and very snarky sense of humor, which I appreciate coming from my very snarky sense of humor family. Neale and I had a very similar story in hearing about mortal sin from the pulpit and how it had affected us as children. I just really felt a camaraderie with Neale Donald Walsch when I spoke to him. I laughed out loud with him. I enjoyed him. And when you talk to Neale, there's a sereneness that comes through, which is just beautiful. Let's talk about the conversation with God. I have often asked questions of God and have often gotten answers. And I love Neale's clarity in what he got in the Conversations with God book. I don't think Neale would tell you that he is a deity or someone who's set apart as different. He's someone who recognized his conversation with God. He's someone who recognized something was coming through, and he acknowledged it. I will often talk about my buddy Jeshua back here and how he never called himself the Son of God. He called himself the Son of Man. He talked about his being at one with God, one with the Father. The Father and I are one. So he talked about this beautiful connection of oneness. And when you speak with Neale Donald Walsch, there's a beautiful connection of oneness there with him. When I first interviewed Neale, I was doing a podcast with Tamara Zoner called the Spirit Cafe Podcast. I reached out to Neale to see if he would come on our modest little podcast. And he agreed without a question. He did not in any way, shape, or form, think we were too small. He said, "Yeah, no, I want to talk. I want to be out amongst the people saying something." And he came on, and it was just a lovely, lovely interchange. I felt like we could go back and forth and talk about our own stories. I felt like it was talking with a friend. I later brought Neale to my channel, which is posted right now on the Recovering Catholic channel. And he and I laughed and we joked and we talked about his new book, The God's Solution, which I think is profound. He would be very quick to tell you that it wasn't a conversation with God book. It was him writing from his own experiences, but not a back and forth conversation, an intuition. He doesn't even call what he does channeling, which I think shows his integrity. He says this is just an intuition. I believe what that is being open to hear an answer, to experience this information coming through. Whenever I do a private session, I do the exact same thing. I sit down, I think of the person, and then I listen for answers, and I just start writing things down. And I think anybody can. I had a channeling workshop that I did a while back, and I brought on people who had never done anything like that. We started the training by actually having them do automatic writings for each other. And the amount of clarity they were getting for each other was amazing. They all got something that pertained to the person that they were talking to. It comes down to understanding that you just let go. You just let go and you ask your questions and don't try to formulate your answer. Just listen for what comes in. And Neale did that so beautifully in the Conversations with God book. And it became a big part of my original spiritual journey. It was the second book of my journey. My first was a book by James Redfield called The Celestine Prophecy, which I'm really hoping I can get a hold of James Redfield and get him to come on my channel as an interview. If anybody knows James Redfield, I would love an introduction. But I would love to talk to James Redfield because his book was so instrumental in my early spiritual awakening. And I think when you have somebody like Neale especially, who is so open and so willing to talk to anybody anywhere, and you have to understand he does have a snarky sense of humor, but that's part of his charm, is the fact that he is just a guy who will give you a little dig here and there, and he'll pick on you a little bit, and that's part of Neale's charm. He is just a guy who is having a conversation with God, just like you or I can, just like any of us can. It's just a matter of being aware and acknowledging that we're hearing something and writing. That's why I say start this sort of thing by just writing things down. Just ask a question, exhale, set aside all your fears and judgments, and whatever pops in your head, no matter how weird it is, just write it down. And I think that's what happened with Neale. He was at a point in his life where things were frustrating, and he literally went, why? Or he asked a hard question of God, and then an answer popped in his head, and he wrote it down. Do you really want to know, or are you just venting? I think that's what it said. That was and then he just started. I really want to know, and then he started having answers back and forth, a conversation back and forth. And I think any one of us can do it. And do I think he's the real deal? Do I think Neale Donald Walsch really did have a conversation with God? I absolutely do. But I think the lesson you can get from Neale Donald Walsch's conversation with God is that you can have a conversation with God. You and God are one. There is no middleman that you need between you and God. Be part of the pure love, as Neale would call it, pure love. Often we'll say unconditional love, but he says pure, which I think is a better word. I agree with him that it's a better word. The purity of love. There's no inclusions. There's no fears and anxieties within the love of God. And I have often said that words are imperfect. You can't go to the other side and come back and be able to describe what you've had, because it's a different expression. It's a different feeling. And it's a matter of you deciding to go there without the fears and anxieties. And to even use the word unconditional, you're introducing conditions. So that's my thought on Neale Donald Walsch. I think that if you have a chance, go out and get his new book, The God Solution. It's a great book. Go back and read the Conversations with God. And as with any text, take what rings true to you. Let go of the things that don't. Don't take any author, teacher, especially not me, as the Bible. Spirituality is a personal journey. The wisest spiritual teacher of my life, my mom, told me that. And she's right. It's a personal journey. You've got to find what feels right to you and live your truth. Joshua said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Second word was the truth. And truth is subjective. So live the way you want in accordance to your personal truth, and you'll have a great life. And I think that's what Neale Donald Walsch has done. And I think that's what Neale Donald Walsch is doing now. And I applaud him for his beautiful work that he's put into the world. And I absolutely believe his conversation with God. And if you really want to see something interesting about what he sees in the future, check out his new book, The God Solution. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.